Alright everyone, most of you have created your shapes so you're to the point of actually doing some style type things with it. And some of you have put all of your shapes here on one layer. Some of you have your shapes on separate layers. It really doesn't matter. But what I want to show you here is how to change and do some style to each of these that maybe some of you haven't done before. As I was walking around, most of you guys have just solid type colors. Alright, so you've created your boxes, and you've pretty much been able to um, change your colors how you want and make them red or make them black and everything like that. What I want to show you is how to add some style to those kind of plain boxes right now. So here we go. The first thing I'll have you do is right click on the layer that you want to change. So right now for me it's this red box. If I right click on that and I go to blending options, you see a whole bunch of different options over here of how you can kind of spice up your shapes for your scoreboard or for your starting lineups graphic or anything like that. So over here you have some different blending options. So I'm just going to go ahead and click and show you what each of these do. You got beveling. You can see it added a nice edge around the outside. You can even add a contour, which adds a little style on the top of this. Texture. You can add some texture to it, and each one of these options, if you click next to it, it has the different amounts that you can add to it. So if I scale back the texture, you can hardly see it there, and I can add just a little bit more, just a little bit more, or I can make it huge texture. So you can kind of just mess around with that a little bit. Same way with the depth. Okay, there's really crazy depth, and there's really crazy depth. Somewhere in the middle is usually where it's at. Alright, so I'm going to take those off for right now. You can add a stroke around the outside. Once again, you can tell how much of a stroke you want around the outside. Usually it's just a little bit to make it set off. And then how thick, that's how thick it is right there. But this also makes it a little bit transparent, so you can add just a subtle touch of that stroke to the outside with the opacity. Inner shadow, you can create a black shadow along the inside. We also have an inner shadow here, which does something similar, and once again you can mess around with angles and how it looks, and the distance of the shadow, how defined it is or how blurred it is, the size of your shadow. So you can see I did a lot with that. If I take this off from plain red to that, that added a lot of artistic value to that square, or rectangle I should say. Inner glow, that's the same way. It's got an inner glow. Okay, you can make it satin, which just makes it a little darker. Once again, you can go there, you can adjust the angle. Okay, distance, do some weird stuff with it there. You can actually even create a color overlay. Right now it is red, but if I wanted to use blue, okay, I'm able to change the color without actually having to go to the fill and add color to that box again or anything like that. I can just change it right there. One of the probably most used functions in this layer style is the gradient. So I'm just going to click on that. Automatically goes to this black and white gradient right here. And this is really what I want to show you, because you usually see gradients when you're looking at graphics. So if you click here, you can choose what colors you want to use. Okay, it has some presets, so if you wanted to go crazy and use one of the presets, there it is. Alright, or you can actually choose your own colors here. So I'll do one that's kind of A-townish here. I'll go to green. There's my first color. So right now it's blending from green to white. Alright, so here I'm going to use yellow and hit OK. Alright, now it's blending from green to yellow. And I can actually add another one here. Okay, if you just click there, now if I double click and I go to black, okay, there's our A-Town colors. And now I can decide how much of that black or green that I want just by moving these dials. So I'm going to move that one a little closer. Okay, and now you got that small line in between. Whoops, that's not what I wanted. So we'll delete that. Okay, and bring this in nice and tight. Okay, so I got yellow, For some reason I made 3 blacks there. Doesn't really matter. I got black in the middle. Now I'm just going to go ahead and hit OK. Alright, now I can make some adjustments to this box as well. I can change the angle. Alright, either way. Alright, I can change the scale. So how tight do I want that line, or should I have that black kind of blend into the other two there? Alright, if I really wanted to, I can go back into this. I can move these guys way over. Okay, like this. If I hit OK, then I got where it's hitting my green over here on the side, and then I could actually reverse that if I wanted to. So maybe you don't want to create a separate box for numbers. Let's say you want the name over here and the numbers right there. You could use the gradient tool with an angle like this to add some style to it as well. Alright, so that's the gradients, and that's just kind of a basic one there. There's all sorts of different styles of gradients that you can do, and it depends how much you want to blend things, what angle you want them at, because you can do some weird things with your angles there. So I'm going to take the gradient off. And back to our solid red that we started with. You can do pattern overlays. So if I click next to pattern overlays, here's a bunch of different types of patterns that you can use. Alright, take that off. Create outer glows and also drop shadows, which creates a shadow along the outside. So you can play around with the different types of styles here and do a lot with your layers. Now if you have rectangles all on one layer, when you change the layer of that style of that layer, all of the rectangles would change. If you have individual rectangles, you'd have to do them all individually. The nice thing is what you can do if you have a layer that you have created that you want to use over and over again. If I go back to my blending options and I'll just do a stroke, put some texture to it. Okay, so there it is there. All I would have to do to recreate this, rather than trying to make it every single time, is go duplicate layer. And if I drag this guy down, I have an exact copy, same dimensions, and everything right there. How do I make sure that these boxes are in line? If you go up to View, and you go to Show, and you go to Grid, you can actually get a grid and attempt to line these up exactly using that grid. So that's one thing that will help you as well. So I'm going to turn my grid off. So what I have now are actually 2 different layers here. I can hide this one, or I can hide this one. But let's say we want to make a change to both these layers at the same time. Alright, there's this little tool down here that looks like a folder. Okay, I'm going to put these layers into a folder. So I'm just going to call it rectangles. Alright, I'm going to click and I'm going to drag these guys into layers. Alright, so now if I wanted to hide these, I could hide them at the same time. If I wanted to change the style of them, I could go to blending options, and I could change the style of them at the same time. I could add another stroke, contour, more texture. I want to change the color of them altogether. Okay, let's change them to green. There we go. Alright, then you can do it to all of those layers at once instead of going back to each individual box and trying to change them that way. So that's one option that you have. And if you don't like what you've done, you can see what effects that you've added to that layer right here. And you know, that beveled edge, you can go back in, you can take these off of that layer, and it's back to normal, just how you had it. Alright, so that brings me to organization. We really need to keep these layers over here organized, especially if we're going to use it for on-screen graphics or anything like that, because we got to be able to edit things quickly and on the fly, and we can't be hunting around in this layer column and looking for the right thing. So I want to show you a different document here. I'm going to show you this document that another student made, and it's a Photoshop file just like what you guys are working on right now, and all of these are all the layers that he has over here. All right, but he's got them organized very, very nicely. Right here we have our logos, like the basketball court logo. I'll just show them to you. There's that. Okay, your tornado. All right, so we've got these layers here. So what you can do is we can add that folder just like we did before, and let's just call these logos. And let's keep these organized. Let's put all of the logos inside of a logo folder. These are located on the common drive, by the way, if you would like to take a look at some of the logos and put them on yours. And then he's got another one here called text. Okay, so here's locked text. All right, here's the A-Town lineup. All right, so he's got home player A, which is right there, number player A. And so we could actually go through and edit these real quick. He's using a different font than what's on this computer, so it's telling me that the font isn't there, but I'll just go ahead and go in and hit OK. It's finding a substitute for me. That's fine for now. And I'll go Witherall. All right, so, and then player A number. Okay, and just ignore that. Yours won't say that unless you've used a different font that you got off the internet or something. So I got Witherall's number in there and the player information. Okay, so now I can go through and I can edit my home team's starting lineup very quickly without hunting around for all the different layers. So you want to put the home team lineups all in a folder together. You want to put the visiting team lineups all in a folder together along with the numbers. And then he's organized the rectangles as well. So over here on the right, there's the number rectangles of the away team. So if I hide that again, you'll see those are the rectangles that I'm hiding right there. And we have rectangles of the home team, which is over here on the other side. The home player rectangles, which are right there. Visitor rectangles, we put those all together. And then up here at the top we have a different rectangle that he was using, but he replaced that with a graphic. Okay, so that one's just invisible right now. And then a starting lineups one right there. So he's got pretty much everything into folders here, so that one, it can be edited really quickly, and also you could edit all these at the same time. For example, our visitor rectangles, if I wanted to, I could right click on that. I could go to blending options, and depending on what team we're playing, I could go to some type of color overlay. Alright, or maybe even a gradient. Okay. Now you notice when you have it in a folder, it applies a gradient to all of them in that folder. So it starts really light and it goes to real dark. So if you want to do gradients, I suggest that you make your gradients the way you want them before you put them into folders, because you won't be able to edit the entire folder that way. It's going to put a gradient on the entire folder instead of the individual boxes. So that's probably not something that you might want to use, but we could definitely change a lot of the styles all together at once using that folder tool. And then just the other thing is just being able to navigate this side very quickly, especially during like a basketball game or something, of getting to the right place at the right time. The last thing I want to show you was this scoreboard file that somebody was working on last week. And once again, over here, everything is kept into folders really nicely. This is a locked folder, so that's everything that doesn't change during the game. You can see he's got that locked down, so you can't edit anything there. But logos, if we want to, we could change the A-Town logo, or we could change the opponent's logo. All we'd have to do is double click on that and put in the logo that we would want to use. So that's real quick. Home timeouts. Okay, we've got basically the editable text just like before. We can change the quarter, change the opponent's score. So I'll show you, for example, we can put second quarter. We could go to opponent score, and if we double click there, we can go 0-2. Alright, home score 100. Alright, so it's 100-2. Good job, A-Town. Alright, then over here we got team names. We can actually go in and change the team names. So instead of Monmouth Roseville, if I wanted to go in here and put Rova, there it is. Okay, so there's our editable text. And you can go in and change the colors just like before as well. I might have actually put that in the locked layer accidentally, but we can do that as well. But we also have down here visitor timeouts. All right, so during the course of a game, if we're sending this over for our on-screen graphic, and let's say Rova takes a timeout, all right, we can take away that timeout, take away that timeout, take away that timeout, and we can actually keep a live count of timeouts as we go. So this is the next thing that I would like you to try to experiment with. If you get to the point where you're done with the starting lineup graphics, go ahead and try to create a scoreboard, either for basketball, you could try to do one for football or for baseball or softball or whatever you want to do. So that's all I'm going to show you for today. So thanks for watching, and give it a shot.